I, 34, am a single mother to two girls, Jasmine, 16, and Jessica, 14F. Their dad died when I was pregnant with Jess, and I had to work hard. We hit rock bottom, and I was barely making paycheck to paycheck, but I managed to get a degree, become successful, and we live well. Point is, I know how freaking hard it is to be at the bottom of society, and my daughters know this, which is why I was livid at my daughter's actions. Yesterday, Jasmine showed me a video of Jessica cussing a homeless man out and telling him, "Stop asking me for money, you'd earn it yourself if you weren't so freaking lazy and spending what you earned on substances." When the homeless man complained about the cold, "We live in New England," Jessica responded, "Yeah, people camp for fun, even in December, you can't complain, you're living someone's holiday." Fury was an understatement for what I felt, as I thought I had raised an empathetic daughter. Along with finding the homeless man and making her apologize and help pay for a hotel room for a night for him, she paid £20, as well as signing her up to volunteer at a food bank. I decided to take her up on her offer of sleeping outside. I locked her bedroom door so she couldn't go in, put a sign on it saying closed for the holidays, pitched a tent in the garden and filled it with blankets and the sleeping bag I used when I was camping in Norway on a family holiday as a teen, aka really bloody thermal. I slept in the room closest to the garden for that night, so I was nearby if anything were to go wrong. She was reluctant to do it, but chose it over the option of not having access to her phone until the Christmas holidays are over. In the morning, she was crying about how horrible it was to wake up on a cold mat and get disrupted sleep due to birds. After comforting her, I asked her would she like to do that every day like the homeless man. It struck a chord with her and she was crying over her actions. Well, even after the £20 she was rolling her eyes and her apology was not sincere. This afternoon, I came home from work to Jessica making a big meal to donate to the homeless people who live on the road near our house. I was proud of how she turned over a new leaf, and after taking the food to the people, my sister came over. Apparently, my nephew and Jessica were talking at school and he asked her about her plans for the afternoon and she said that she was going to cook for the homeless. My nephew asked what triggered that and Jess told him everything, which he relayed back to his mum. My sister said that my punishment was too harsh and just the £20 and the food bank would have done the trick and I was acting irrationally due to my past. Now I'm second guessing myself. Am I the idiot? This is solid gold, fantastic parenting. Especially because you weren't trying to simply punish her, you were ensuring she experienced what it is she was abusing the man who was homeless for. It's such an important lesson. Sometimes even if we think we're raising empathetic children, it's hard to learn without experience. Also, you now know it worked out because of your daughter's reaction and thoughtfulness afterwards. Good for you and good for Jessica. It's lovely to know there's a bit more empathy in the world now. Not the idiot, this is similar to what my father would do if I acted that way, and as a family we have not been in nearly the situation you have pulled yourself from. You called her bluff on the fake apology and gave her a choice, phone or camping. She chose to stand her ground on her words and learn her lesson. Personal humility is a good thing. Certain kids, me included, need to learn things the harder way for it to hit home. This will stick with her in a good way, for the long term. Don't worry about your sister, she isn't Jess's parent. Bam. I read this expecting to say you are the idiot, but after seeing that your daughter was perfectly warm enough and safe, I'm going to have to go with not the idiot. And I actually think that what you did was a brilliant way of making your daughter put herself in that homeless person's shoes. Sometimes people need to experience something firsthand so they can empathize, and your daughter has learned a valuable lesson here. Well done to both of you. She admitted that she was wrong, and that takes a lot of guts. A definite not the idiot. I, 31, am the oldest of four sisters, 30, 28, 25. My middle sisters both married before me, and I got married last May. At each of our weddings, our something old was a flower-shaped hairpin that belonged to our mom. Our mom passed away when we were teens, so having that pin was a way for each of us to include her memory in our special days. Since I got married most recently, I have the pin at my apartment. Last week, my youngest sister announced her engagement in our family group chat, then texted me to ask that I send her the pin. Here's the thing. All my sisters were my bridesmaids, along with some friends. At my bachelorette party, after my friends had left, my sisters and I stayed up, a little drunk and feeling very deep in that post-party kind of way. We started talking about our mother. My middle sisters and I got emotional, saying how much we missed her. My youngest sister, however, was very quiet. I asked her what was up, and she started talking about how she was always our mom's least favorite, how even when mom was dying she didn't say as good a goodbye to her as she did to the rest of us, and how, if mom had lived, they'd probably have a terrible relationship. My middle sisters and I tried to talk her out of it, saying that of course our mother loved her and stuff like that, but finally my little sister kind of snapped and just shouted, "Look, I hated that freaking idiot, okay?" Then she started crying and went home. The next day, I called my sister. I asked her if she'd meant everything she'd said the night before. She said she did. She said that she knew our mother loved her, and she knew our mother never did anything bad to her, but that she could always tell that our mom secretly regretted having a fourth kid. She suspected our mom had wanted a son and had been disappointed by a fourth girl. Personally, I don't believe this is true. As the oldest, I had a lot of conversations with my mom before she died that my sisters weren't party to, and she always said that she would have loathed having boys. In fact, I always thought that my youngest sister was her favorite. My sister ended the conversation saying, "Look, that woman might have been my mom, but I didn't like her very much." I responded to my sister's text about the pin, saying that I wasn't sure why she wanted to wear it, considering her strained relationship with our mother's memory. My sister responded, "All of you wore it. I should wear it too. I don't think she should wear it just because we did. It's supposed to represent our mom's memory, and if she doesn't look at our mom's memory fondly, I don't want her disrespecting the pin by wearing it dishonestly." I told her that I would hold onto the pin for now, and we could discuss it more later if she reflects more on what the pin actually represents. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. For caring more about disrespecting a hairpin than your sister. Pins don't have feelings. Your sister does. She lost her mom and she was obviously a lot younger than you. That's hard. We deal with the loss of a parent in different ways. Maybe this is her way of dealing. Your sister is forging her own way. She seems to find some meaning in the pin being worn by her older sisters. Let her have that. Bottom line, this pin is not yours. It's all your sister's. You have the right to withhold it. You're the idiot. Your sister is allowed to have complicated feelings about her mother. Using the hairpin may be a piece of the puzzle for her in coming to terms with that relationship. She can't resolve her feelings by talking to your mother, who is gone. It would be cruel of you to withhold that from her. Even if she isn't actually doing it to resolve the issues and get the feeling that her mom gave her the pin and loved her. Maybe she isn't. You don't get to judge that. You are 100% being the idiot. Your sister's emotional life and her relationship to your mom is not yours to judge or control. You have no right to be gatekeeping her own healing process just because you disapprove of her, possibly valid, feelings toward your mom. Show some genuine love and compassion. Let her wear the pin. It could have a huge healing impact on your sister's feelings toward her. At least, respect her for being an adult who wants to honor your mother and participate in an important tradition. Background. I was married to my ex-husband, John, for 10 years. We had 2 kids together, Kate and Luke. When the kids were 6 and 8, John went through a tragic, life-changing year. He was driving his parents to the airport and they were hit by a drunk driver. His parents died on impact and John was severely wounded. He spent almost 8 months in the hospital and ended up losing his right leg. John was never the same after that year. The combined loss of his parents and his career, he worked a physical job that he could no longer do, destroyed him. We stayed together for another year after he came home from the hospital. We all did therapy and he was enrolled in a support group. In the end, he felt like he couldn't be a husband anymore and filed for divorce. For the next 15 years, he did his best to continue to be a father. I had full custody, but the kids would still see him on weekends. When I remarried, everything changed. My now husband, Ben, is an amazing stepfather. The kids fell in love immediately and slowly stopped trying to see their father. I tried to get them to continue their visits, but they refused more and more as they got older. Now, John died about a month ago. When I told the kids about their father's death, neither had much reaction. It was like I had told them their great-aunt they never met had died. At his funeral it was supposed to be our family plus a few old friends of John. That is everyone he had in life. Both kids made excuses why they couldn't go to the funeral and neither attended. I am completely heartbroken for John. I realized they didn't have a relationship at the end, but he was their father. He raised them though much of their childhood, and after that tragic year, still did his absolute best under the circumstances. I am disgusted that my children have no empathy for him. A week or two after the funeral, the eldest, Kate, called me to ask if anything had been left to her. Apparently, she is looking to buy a house and wanted to see if she would get any cash. I hung up on her. I invited Kate and Luke to my house and sat them down. I told them that their father had willed me everything. After the sale of his house, the costs of the funeral, it was about $60,000. I told them how disappointed I was in their lack of empathy. That their behavior regarding John's death was unacceptable. I then told them I don't think either of them deserve money. They were predictably upset and tried to argue, but I held firm. They both left shortly after. I haven't done anything with the money yet, but I want to donate it to the rehabilitation program that had supported John so many years ago. Would I be the idiot to do this? You're the idiot. Your kids are adults, but you seem unhappy that you can't control them and make them have the emotional reactions that you want. You also seem very dismissive of their pain or other commitments. It is very difficult moving during COVID, and your son's friend possibly really needed someone reliable and safe to help. Like you've been copy and pasting his replies, you can do what you want with the money, but is withholding it from them to give to someone you think is more worthy really going to accomplish much? Not the idiot. It sounds like John made the decision to leave things to you. Probate would have split everything between the kids. Before you follow through, though, you might run the situation past a less partial third party. Just to make sure your kids didn't have valid reasons for not coming in a pandemic. To be honest, I don't think I'd fly to a funeral right now, even for a closest friend. My parents both said that if they do catch and die of this, to cremate them and have a service later, when it is safer. No idiots here. Have you considered that your kids have been mourning the loss of their father since the accident? They were both very young, and the daddy they knew left and never came back. Over the years they have probably come to terms with it in their own way, so the finality of his passing was not the sudden shock it might have otherwise been. They have been processing their loss for years and may not realize you are in a different place in your grief journey. It feels like you are punishing them for not reacting to their grief like you expect they should. My dad married my now stepmom almost a year ago. She has 2 kids, and there's me. My stepsister, 13, got a new phone, Samsung Galaxy S20, if it matters, along with a cake and a surprise party for her birthday 5 months ago. My stepbrother, 20, got a new car, as well as €100 cash, to go celebrate with his friends for his birthday 2 months ago. I turned 18 a few days ago, pretty big deal, being able to vote and drink, get a license. And for my birthday I got a dress and 3 pairs of socks, and a warning that I had to parent now. Now I know my stepmom doesn't like me, that's no secret. Her kids don't do chores, so my stepmom and me each do 50-50-ish. I never complained about it because I want her to like me. Her kids always come first, and I'm getting tired of it. Her son works full-time and doesn't parent, but I have to pay $200 a month. But I'm disappointed with my dad. They go 50-50 on expenses, including gifts. He paid €500 for a smartphone for my stepsister, €2,000 for a car for my stepbrother, and I get socks. I realize some people don't get anything, and I should be happy they're allowing me to live there and all. But I'm getting sick of being treated so differently from the other kids. I gave the dress back to my dad and told him I don't want it and that this was a disappointment. My stepmom came in and she was mad, thinks I am an ungrateful child. My friends are on my side, but that's not saying much. Am I the idiot for being upset? Not the idiot. OP, if your dad can't grow a spine and treat you equally along with your step-sibs, you're better off without him. This type of behavior will continue, your bridal shower, wedding, baby shower, when you graduate school, buy a house, treating your kids differently, etc. It won't get easier, and you will feel like crap every time. It's not about items, it's about blatantly feeling unvalued. For your mental health, let your dad know how it is, and if he wants to fight for you he will, if he doesn't, you're better off without him. Not the idiot at all. Your stepmom needs to realize she married your dad, and you are not Cinderella. Your dad needs to stop letting his wife treat you like a maid. I'd calmly explain the difference in presents, and that it upset you and that no, you will not be paying rent, whilst your stepbrother doesn't. Depending on where you are in Europe, being 18 doesn't mean they can stop providing for you. Most than anything, I wanted to wish you happy birthday and for you know that there are a million stars in the sky that will always value you. Not the idiot. Your dad is awful. You need to have a serious talk with him. Is it stepmom's house? If you have to parent, so should stepbrother. It does not sound like money is short in the house. Remind your dad that unless he steps up he will lose you and any grandchildren you may have in the future. Be prepared for him to be a complete idiot and to not care. Stop doing chores that aren't yours until the rest of the family pitches in. You may as well stop trying to make this woman like you. She doesn't. Cut your losses. She is awful. No other family anywhere. Recently I told my husband I was going to make him traditional style roasted salsa verde like my family made. I was super excited about this. I haven't made it since before we even started dating. Some background on this, my husband is autistic and is a cooking snob, made worse since he is a chef. 2 years ago I told him I don't like cooking with him and refused to do it anymore because he always talked down and corrected me. He insisted it was so I can improve my technique despite me telling him it was just fun trying things. He never comments on taste, my process, if he's watching. He asked to help make the salsa, so I asked him to chop the vegetables and I would do the rest since there really isn't much. He immediately smashed the garlic, which I asked him not to, because it was easier to peel. He watched me cook a few seconds and proceeded to start a second burner and spray it with butter, despite my telling him that wasn't needed. He insisted on shaking the pan to roast the veggies because it's more efficient than my turning them to roast each side. Just undermining me every step. I tried to feed him a chip with the salsa when we finished, and he insisted he couldn't eat as he was in work mode. I commented I thought we were just having fun, and he basically insisted he was in work mode and to give him a few minutes. I decided it wasn't worth the fight and stepped outside for a cigarette. I came back, asked if he tasted it, and he said it was good but added cream and other stuff. I got upset and told him that wasn't what I was trying to do. He said he was just trying to make something good for us to snack on. I explained nothing about this was traditional anymore, and that's why I was upset, and he insisted that the changes were fine, it just made it better and the process more efficient. I got upset and pointed out how traditional seemed important enough he had to come around to me not changing my name before we married, and it was good enough we spent a year going back and forth on adding my name to our future kids. Hispanic culture kids get both last names. He got mad and said having his son carry on the family name is different than making some salsa. I told him it was more than that. He always assumed his way is the way we do things, and I was tired of fighting for my traditions to exist in our family. He said it was natural since we are in the US to assume we're doing things that way, since that is what is traditional is here. I told him he married a Mexican woman born in Mexico, and my traditions matter too. We went back and forth and now I'm not even sure who's right anymore. Not the idiot. Your traditions matter just as much as his does, it's a part of your culture, and it just sounds like he doesn't understand the importance of it and doesn't seem to want to educate himself either. I doubt it's just the salsa that's caused this argument, but probably from him consistently undermining you and your traditions. I hope you guys can work it out though you both probably need to have a discussion about it all and maybe go to couples therapy to get to the bottom of the real issue with a middleman. Best of luck. Not the idiot. My husband is also a professional chef and he's never corrected my technique unless I've asked for critical feedback. Second, who the heck puts cream in a roasted salsa? Fellow Mexican woman here. My husband is Mexican too. Being a chef doesn't mean a person is good at making everything. Your husband murdered that salsa. It's also plain rude to behave that way when someone else is cooking. It sounds like your relationship problems go beyond the kitchen though. Your husband is prioritizing his traditions over yours, which isn't okay. Not the idiot. Your traditions matter. Your culture matters. Our way of life matters. Your children deserve to know what their culture is like. Whether your husband likes it or not, they are also Mexican. Eventually they will ask why they are not more connected to this part of their identity, and your only answer will be because your father wanted it so. Being American is not enough reason for them to not know what their people are like. On top of that, you matter. Just because you married a white man doesn't mean that your past is erased.